The night of my wife's work party, I was just there to support her. Sarah had been talking about this event for weeks, a big networking opportunity with all the higher-ups and colleagues from her marketing firm. I didn't know many of them, and frankly, I preferred it that way. I dressed sharply, kept my demeanor calm, and decided to let her shine while I stayed in the background. I was there to be the supportive husband, not the center of attention. As we walked in, the music and chatter filled the air. Sarah introduced me to a few people, most of them polite, exchanging small talk. But then came Daniel. Tall, cocky, with that smug half-smile people wear when they think they're better than you. He shook my hand with a grip just firm enough to try to prove something. "So, you're Sarah's husband," he said, glancing at me like I was an unexpected guest at his private club. I nodded, keeping my tone neutral. "That's right." He looked me up and down and smirked. "Must be nice not having to worry about work while your wife's out here climbing the ladder." The comment was subtle, but the condescension was thick. I could feel Sarah tense beside me. I just smiled slightly and let it slide. I'd dealt with men like him before. But Daniel wasn't done. Over the next half hour, he made little digs, jokes about how I must have married up, how Sarah deserved someone ambitious, and how I probably didn't get what it's like to be in a competitive world. The group around him laughed uncomfortably, sensing the edge in his words but too polite to intervene. Sarah tried to redirect the conversation, but he kept pulling it back to me, almost as if he wanted a reaction. Finally, he went too far. With his drink in hand, he leaned toward me and said, "You know, in this kind of crowd, it's survival of the fittest. Not everyone can handle it. Some just fade into the background." His tone was dripping with challenge. I caught the quick glance he gave Sarah, as if to test whether she'd side with him or me. I set my glass down slowly and met his eyes. "Daniel," I said evenly, "you're right. Not everyone can handle a competitive environment. But the thing about me is, I've spent the last decade thriving in one far more cutthroat than this." He tilted his head, half interested, half skeptical. "Oh yeah? Doing what?" I smiled, calm, measured. "Special Forces. 10 years. Multiple tours overseas. Then private security consulting for high-profile clients. My job was literally to outthink, outmaneuver, and outperform people who wanted to end me. So, you'll forgive me if I'm not impressed by your office politics." His smirk faltered, and the air around us shifted instantly. There was a brief silence before someone at the table laughed nervously. Daniel tried to recover, but I could see the color drain from his face. He muttered something about "just joking" and looked away, suddenly fascinated by the contents of his glass. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table, a silent thank you for not exploding earlier. The rest of the night, Daniel kept his distance. The few times our paths crossed, his tone was suddenly respectful, even deferential. The other guests seemed more curious about me now, asking about my work and travels, though I kept my answers vague. I hadn't come here to brag. I just reminded one man that appearances can be deceiving. When we left the party, Sarah laughed softly as we walked to the car. "You didn't have to tell him everything," she said. I glanced at her with a grin. I didn't tell him everything. Just enough. Driving home, I thought about how easily people underestimate others based on surface impressions. Daniel had looked at me and seen someone ordinary. What he didn't realize was that the most dangerous people in any room are often the ones who don't need to prove it. And that night, I was more than happy to let him figure that out the hard way. From then on, Sarah told me, Daniel was always polite, almost overly so. He never made another jab in my direction, and whenever I showed up at her office events, he gave me a wide berth. I never held a grudge against him, but I suspect he never forgot the moment he realized he had no idea who I really was.